To the cloud. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Stephen and Contreras with Compassionate Finance, your host tonight for Outstanding Balance. This is our once a week show. We do about 30 minutes with Dr. Baird, where he goes over a topic of interest to the dental community, and then we'll do a Q&A, and of course, we'll do a little offer at the end for you. If you're not currently using Compassionate Finance or Abella, we'd love for you to give it a try in your practice. So tonight's topic, I was looking at Dr. Baird's podcast, and I saw it right there. Marketing ROI is BS. I thought, I'm a marketer, and I struggle every day to find the ROI and just how you can detail and talk about what you're doing. But then I listened to the episode, and it really turned around my thinking, and it goes to some of the cores that Compassionate Finance is really all about. When you think about, don't just bring more people into the practice, new patient, new patient, new patient. How can we do more dentistry on the patients we currently have? So I'm going to turn it over to the master here, Dr. Bruce Baird, and he's kind of going to walk you through some of that. Love to get some questions from y'all. This is being recorded, and we will send out a copy. Hi, Dr. Baird. How are you doing?
Good, Stephen. How are you?
Excellent. Doing very well.
Good. Looking forward to talking about marketing. Marketing is something that I've been doing in practice for 35 years. So I was actually marketing in the mid 80s when dentists really weren't marketing very much. But as I began working with dentists and seeing people out there, there was always this buzzword, and this buzzword was ROI, and I'd be at a meeting and I'd hear this. So what's your ROI? Well, what's your ROI? What's your ROI on, I did this direct mail and the ROI sucked, or I did, my website, I get lots of patients in well, I don't ever get any, what's your ROI? What's your return on investment? For those of you who don't know what that is, but bottom line is, as a person who has built a marketing company, Productive Dentist Academy, we actually have 25 employees that are part of a marketing company. And I told them, it was after, we'd already been doing seminars for dentists for probably 7 or 8 years. And we would tell dentists, try these guys, try their marketing, try these guys' marketing. We believe in a budget and running your marketing on a specific budget. 8% is what we teach, which is about 6.5% more than what most dentists market to. And we can talk about another concept maybe next week on something called net zero marketing, which is a whole different idea, different concept. But bottom line is, we would tell the dentist that you have a budget of $4,000 to do marketing, and we would tell them to go see so-and-so, and they would upsell them to a $10,000 a month marketing budget. And so that's the reason we started a marketing company, was because we wanted people to stay within their budget, but we wanted to find things that could bring patients into the office. Now, having said that, bringing people into the office, how does this ROI work? Well, first of all, I see every single day. I've seen it today. I've seen it on LinkedIn. I've seen it on Facebook. Ads and marketing says, I can bring you, 25 new patients a month. I can bring you 100 new patients a month. I could bring you 5 to 10 a day. I mean, we hear this stuff over and over and over again. And do you really just want 100 new patients? I do something that's called train wreck marketing. If you go back and listen to any of my podcasts, you know that, I market to hopefully people who need a lot of dentistry. That gives me a better chance, of doing more dentistry. But ROI, what does that entail? First of all, I did an ad one time in our newspaper here, and I thought we were killing it. We were getting like 85 new patients a month off of this piece of marketing. When I went and figured out what my return on investment was, it was horrible. These patients were shoppers. They really didn't, it was more of a come get your cleaning, come get this done, come get that done type of marketing in the paper. And that's who we got, people who were shopping, and they were spending an average of $300-400 a person. So my marketing ROI, I thought it was going great in my mind, because we were getting the phone ringing. Oh, this is great. But we weren't doing any dentistry. Another time, is when you get somebody that says, we can make your phone ring off the wall. Well, that's great. And there's been a company out there that, that talks about how does your front desk answer, and they do training for your front desk. They'll send you a recording of how crappy your front desk is answering the phone and tell you need to use them as their consultant. Well, the truth is, to spend $100,000 for somebody to train your front office how to do better verbal skills, that's something that can probably be taught in about 2 hours of dedicated time with your team, literally dedicated time, role playing and doing that kind of stuff. I walked in my office and it's, you know, my wife, Cynthia, had been listening to all of the recordings of our front desk. And I said, how's it going? She said, you don't want to hear them. I said, no, I do. I want to hear them. I got to hear them. And kind of a quick story is, we like doing LANAP surgery, laser assisted new attachment procedure using the periolaser laser. And I was marketing to that. And I'm listening to the conversation on the phone. And most of our patients, we have our average new patient comes from 50 to 60 miles away from our office. So we market in a large area. And my front desk talked to the patient on the phone, says, now, where are you coming from? They said, I'm coming from Mesquite, Texas, which is about 75 miles away. And she went, oh my goodness. She goes, yes, but I've heard you guys do the laser gum surgery. She said, we sure do. And as a matter of fact, I'll bet there's somebody closer to you that does it also. And I'm like, I'm about to have a coronary right there. I'm just going like, when I didn't go scream at everybody at the front desk. I didn't fire anybody, but I realized that even our team doesn't understand, sometimes what we're trying to accomplish. We believe, yes, there are somebody, and she actually got the patient, gave them the phone number of somebody closer who had the laser. I've had people that have said, after answering 10 questions, and the patient says, okay, well, that sounds great. And then they go, all right, well, call us back if you want an appointment. Well, they called for an appointment. That's why they made the call. Now, if it was just a question, then maybe that's okay. But bottom line is training your front desk. That's super important. So working with your team, that's something that we've been doing now with Productive Dentist Academy for years. And any interest in that, Productive Dentist Academy or productivedentist.com, you can go to that. But now the patient, let's just say the patient, everything goes wonderful with the front desk. And now they come in your practice, and your practice doesn't present itself in the best way possible. Let's say maybe there's not, your front office is a little dirty, or there's sticky notes everywhere, or your front office doesn't greet the patient, as if they're coming into their house. That kind of appearance. Is your ROI going to go up or down? Well, I'll tell you, your ROI is probably going to go down because patients are probably not going to follow through with as much treatment. What about when they get back in the back in your treatment room and you begin to go through, your exam process, and, you start to use your verbal skills to help talk to them about what they need and what they have to have done. Well, when you compare ROIs, let's talk about a young dentist right out of dental school who comes in. His average treatment plan is maybe $1,000. You look at a dentist who's been out of school maybe 20 years, their average treatment plan might be $10,000. So is the return on investment, if you're doing 10,000 compared to doing 1,000, what's your ROI going to be? Your ROI is going to be much higher if you're doing a $10,000 treatment plan. What I will tell you is you've got to learn the verbal skills to be able to talk to patients so that they understand exactly what it is they need, and they want you to be the one to do it. They want you the one to do the dentistry. And I want to do it in this office. The marketing we do brings patients in, but the ROI is determined by not only the marketing piece, do we get phone calls, but do those phone calls turn into appointments? Do those appointments Do they show up for their appointment? And then what kind of treatment planning? What is our service mix? What is our clinical competency to be able to help those patients get all the dentistry that they need to have done? Something that's, oh, it's a burr in the saddle, and all of us know somebody who is a dentist down the street who's not the best clinician in the world, but their parking lot's always full. What they've learned is they've learned how to communicate. And their patients generally love them. They don't know that the margins on the crown suck. They don't know that their dentistry is not the kind of dentistry that you would have done in your mouth or have anybody in your family done in their mouth. I always tell this story, and if I talk to 100 dentists, you give me 1 minute with 100 dentists, I can tell you who the top 20 producers are. And those are the 20 who look at you in the eye and who can communicate well, who are beyond that shyness. Now, unfortunately, as dentists, most of us are engineers. We're anal retentive. We want to explain every single thing over and over and over again. We over explain. And that's the secret, is not over explaining, but finding out who it is you're talking to. And those are the things that we work on all the time. How do I communicate with an engineer? How do I communicate with a non-engineer? Many times non-engineers, they don't want to see all the x-rays. They don't want to see that. But if they like you, you're going to get to do the dentistry. If it's an engineer that you're talking to, you've got to go through the molecular structure of titanium and all of that. But you can do all of those things right. And let's just assume you are. What's your ROI going to be when the only options you have for financing is cash up front or third-party financing? What is your ROI going to be? Well, first of all, you're going to lose about half the patients, because that's all that really get approved for third-party financing. Probably less than that, depending upon where you're at, what's your location, and all those kind of things. But what I will tell you is, when you have financial options, something like compassionate finance, which has been around for 10 years now, we're closing in, well, I think we're over $300 million worth of notes for dentists, helping dentists become their own bank. Now, we've been told from the front of the room, don't be your own bank. Don't be your own bank. Let the bankers be the bank. Well, you know what? Banks have big buildings in towns, big cities. They're all the big banks. Why is it? Because they make money. And when you can offer, people say, the reason most people never offered financing was because of this. Number one, we were told not to. Number two, most people don't know how to charge interest in their state and how to handle the regulatory part of it. But the big question is, what if they don't pay me? That's always the big thing. What if they don't pay me? Well, the truth is, with interest offsets risk. So I can tell you, we classify patients A, B, C, D, and E. Let's just say the E patient, we know, defaults at 20%. Now, their interest rate they're paying as an E is, in 38 states, is 17.9%. There are some states you have to be able to charge less than that. Some you go more, but we usually recommend right in that area. So they're paying 17.9% interest on 36 months, and 20% of them default. That means 1 out of 5. Well, I have people say, I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to do those kind of patients. Well, why not? 4 out of 5 are going to pay you the full term of that note. Well, get out your little financial calculator, and what you're going to figure is the interest of the 4 people who do pay offsets those that don't pay. Now, a dentist, and so what's your ROI going to be when you're making actually 100% of your full fee for service? And I'm not talking about reducing your fee by 40% for a PPO. I'm talking about charging a full fee for service fee, but having payments, affordable monthly payments available for your patients. That's the difference. And that's what makes up That's why most ROI that I hear guys talking about at meetings is just total BS. I go, I can ask you 5 questions. I can call your front office. I can tell you what kind of treatment plans are you doing? Where are you marketing to? What are you doing? But also, what are your verbal skills? What are your communication skills? And what kind of financing do you have? So, Stephen, that's the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, just to give a different twist for people to say, okay, maybe that is a little bit different than what I've heard, because most of the time it comes down not to the marketing company. If they're getting phone calls, ROI comes down to the practice. What type of treatment plans are you doing? What kind of financial arrangements you're doing, and that. So it's a very different conversation at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. If you have a question, go ahead and put that in the Q&A tab, or go ahead and type that in the chat. Yeah, Dr. Baird, I feel like, you go in, you're doing a crown, maybe you see something different in there that you weren't expecting. It's like the same thing with the financial conversation. The more areas that you have to pivot to, the more likely it is that dentistry is going to happen. I remember when I was 24 years old, and I did not have a very persuasive dentist, and he handed me a bill for $1,200, and this was the treatment plan. And I was just like, what do I do here? I don't understand the benefits of the treatment. I don't know. I don't have a way to do it. If there is something like compassionate finance, hey, you can pay $45 a month, and here's why you want to get this done now. It'll save this much later. Or, just building that relationship and that trust, I think really helps with it. But you're
No
right on the money.
question. No question. I mean, those are the big things. I see Greg on here, and I see quite a few folks that are that are friends and people I know. But if there are no questions, you can always send them to us, and we'll do them on another evening program.
Mm-hmm.
And we will enjoy the rest of the evening. And thank you guys for being on. For all of you that were on Facebook, you can go to compassionatefinance.com. And you could also go to productivedentist.com if you had an interest in either one of those. The other thing, I know, Stephen, you'll tell them what kind of a special we've got with Compassionate Finance now.
Absolutely. So I'm going to send you over an offer, a 30-day no strings trial. In 2020, we signed up more practices than ever, because practices were realizing that patients needed affordability. They needed to work with a monthly payment within their budget. You get 40 million people who are kicked off their health insurance, credit scores going up and down. The ability to have cash on hand was harder and lower. But we were doing loans for big cases, small cases, and everything in between. And we were giving folks free trials to do so. So we want to extend one of those to you, 30 days, no strings attached. You can cancel anytime, but this is something that's going to increase the amount of dentistry you do in your practice and help you hit those monthly production goals that you've set for yourself.
Does that include, are we doing that same kind of thing with Abella too? Or
Abella as well. And if you're not familiar with Abella, there will be information about that over in the email as well. We collected millions of dollars for closed dental practices on AR that was just sitting there on the books when practices were closed, and even when they're open. I have a great testimonial from an office manager who said, oh, the doctor dragged in another tool for me to try, and I'm not going to like it. And then she tried it, and then $13,000. And a week later, she was like, this is saving me so much time. This is highly productive. This is the way patients want to be communicated with in 2020, 2021, and going forward. So do check those out.
I noticed Greg said how many dentists are currently using Compassionate Finance. We have over 2,500 dentists that are using it.
Counting.
And we average around 3 to 3.2 million every month of contracts. And the thing that's important to know about that, Greg, is you actually own that paper. It's not us. All we do is service the notes for you. And our average default across all the A, B, C, Ds, and E's is around 9%, 8 or 9%, which is the average dental office only collects 93% of what they do. And we're collecting, most of our loans are subprime because they're people who aren't approved by the care credits of the world. Now, guys who have been using Compassionate for very long, they realize, why do I want to pay 10% off the top to get my money up front when I can get 103, 105% of my money, and it's paid over a period of time, and it pandemic proofs my practice. And during the pandemic, we had docs that were bringing in $30,000 a month off of work they did 3 years ago. And it was a godsend for them. It really was. It saved their business. And the PPP loans helped. And so those are the things that I saw. Um, what a great opportunity. And then when we threw a Bella on top of it, we started to collect money during when offices were closed down. So not only did they have compassionate finance money come in, but they were collecting in our office in 27 days, we collected $73,000 of money that was over 90 that I had, and we're a large practice. So that I don't want that number to think, well, why, but this is a big practice doing 5 million a year. And also we collect 77,000 in 27 days. And I'm like, this works, I'm excited about it. So anyway, hope that answered your question. How would I structure the payments when I employ associate dentists? That is a great question. And we have a couple of white papers that we've done on that. One of the things that you can do is, well, there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. And we might want to do, I know we've done some webinars, we might want to do a specific webinar just on the different ways that you can accomplish that. I know there are some dentists that, they hire an associate. They said, you do all the dentistry you want. And, there's going to be, we always tell people you have to get a 20% down, or that's the average, 20% down to cover all your hard costs. So you're doing the financing, but you're getting all your hard costs covered. Hard cost, cost of the crown, cost of the implants, cost of whatever it is, and make sure you get that covered. And we can talk about how we utilize insurance. Most patients, the average crown in the US is done one crown at a time. 95 out of 100 crowns are done one at a time. And that came from Gordon Christensen. So if it's being done one at a time, why is that? Well, the reason is because the patient goes, well, what will my insurance cover? You tell them they need 5 crowns. Patient says, what will my insurance cover? And your treatment coordinator is going to say, well, it's going to be $5,000, but your portion's going to be $3,500. And the patient says, can I just do one? Everyone on this podcast or webinar has heard this over and over and over again. And if you haven't heard it, just listen, just stick your ear in the operatory, because I promise you it's being said over and over and over again. And so a lot of times your team is trained and you have no other options. You say, well, we have financing available with Care Credit. And they go, okay, well, let's do that. They fill out the application and they get turned down. Now, who looks like the bad person? Well, the practice does. As opposed to us saying, well, Bob, you could do 1 crown at a time, but why don't we do this? Why don't we use your insurance as a down payment? $1,500, and we'll work out convenient monthly payments on the other $3,500, $80 a month, $85 a month. And all of a sudden the patients go, oh, well, okay. I've never to this date had one patient say no if I gave him those options. Well, now I'm doing 5 crowns, not 1. I'm getting a down payment of $1,500. And if you're a CERAC doc, those CERACs are costing you $30 a whack. You got about $150 in parts. You're getting $1,500 and you have an associate doing it for you. And that paper is all yours. You're paying the associate out of the down payment, plus you're throwing in a little extra, but your ROI on that is amazing. But you can send me a personal email, Bruce Productive Dentist, and we can talk about that some more too.
Yeah, and I will put resources and some links, and we do have a white paper we did produce on how to pay an associate included. And I'll also include, we have kind of a map so you can see, what does your county look like? How many folks are subprime? What's that population? I know at the top of my head that Dallas got 2.3 million folks in it, and 937,000 are not going to qualify for dental insurance. That's a lot of for dental credit. There's a lot of patients on the table right there.
Oh yeah,
they're fighting over the top 20%, like you always say, Dr. Baird. And what do you always tell Bob too? These crowns are not getting cheaper, Bob. So get it done now. Instead
I know.
years.
Those are the verbal skills that I like to teach. I go, Bob, you could wait, but next year they're going to be more expensive. I've been doing this for 40 years and they've never gotten cheaper. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts. So good to see you guys. Good to talk to everybody. And I'll see you, I think week after next, we're doing another one.
Next.
right before I leave to go to Cancun, I think.
Oh, very, very good. You'll be going to Cancun. I'll be on my way to South Beach. We'll do it, and then we'll go put on the sunscreen.
You got it. All right, buddy.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.